Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I want to talk today about home security, because I've had a couple people ask me about that, actually. As many of you know, we're headed out tomorrow. You didn't know we were headed out tomorrow, but we're headed out tomorrow for a little trip down to Tennessee, across Tennessee, over towards South Carolina. And and I had a couple of people. We love traveling, number one. We love traveling as a family, and we like to have our little getaways every now and then, periodically. It just kind of centers you. I mean, when I had to travel for a living, I got to hate it, but when you do it for fun, it's great, especially when you do it with your family, your team, your main team. It gives you so many opportunities to just relax together, have fun together, and we do use it as or I do it, I use it as some drills and a little bit of training along the way, and maybe I'll talk about that when we're out there on the road. But I had a couple of people ask me, well, what do you do about security when you're gone? And that's a great question. Oh, by the way, you see, I am drinking out of a different mug today. This is one of the American Reversion collections, and some of you will recognize that picture. Let me get my glasses on so I can read it here. That's the picture of George Washington, praying. And it says, on here, it says, "It is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor, George Washington." And then down at the bottom, it says, as you can see, American Reversion. What better way to start the day? This is one of, I have some tweaking to do on some colors and things on this, on the it looks great. I like it. I love it. But I think I have a couple of ideas that are going to make me love it more. So those will be available probably in a couple of weeks. We'll get back and I'll get back into the saddle, and we'll probably have those ready in a couple of weeks. And when we do, I'll announce it, and they'll be available on the website. Let me take a sip. I think I said the other time when I was drinking out of one of the others, I like these mugs. They're 15 ounces, so they're bigger. They're not a cup, they're a mug. And I can get all four of my fingers. I have fairly good sized hands. I can get all four of my fingers through the handle there, and I like that. I like to hold a mug like that. And it's just beautiful. I love these things. I think you will too. So traveling out of town. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. Like always, this and all my videos are brought to you by my books, the Stonemont series. Okay, available through Amazon and through our website, stonemont.us, as are the t-shirts. So I had several people ask me, well, if you're going out of town, what security measures do you take any special security measures? My answer to that is no. You should have decent security at your place all the time, because there are dangers all the time. And just because you're at home doesn't mean the same dangers aren't out there, the same threats aren't out there lurking around, right? And all that. People have a tendency to believe that, well, when they're on vacation, things are a little more wide open to something going wrong. In some cases, I will agree that can be true, but let me explain my thinking and my process, and I think I'll cover that. First off, I know when I talk about home security, there may be those out there who are immediately going to type in, put longer screws in your strike plates so that they go back through the jack and the king studs, and there's all these things that you can get to harden your doorways. Yeah, that's exactly right. Those are basics. If you're new to us, I tend not to talk about the basics, because those have been done to death. I think pretty much everybody knows all of those things. And I'm going to talk about things that people may not think about. or may have thought about but haven't done, and so I want to encourage you to look at doing these things. So yeah, harden all of your doorways. There are many ways to do it, and many videos out there to show you how to do it. So, strengthen your doorways, pin your windows, all of those kinds of things. Now, realize that your home really is your castle. It is the place that when you're gone, it should be as resistant as possible to entry, to attack. And by that, we'll talk about not making it look like an attractive target. And no, that doesn't mean throwing junk out in your yard. You can have your home look nice from the outside and still not look like a target. But it should also be just as solid when you're there, because when you're at home, you're sleeping, right? I mean, that is one of the most dangerous times in your life. You're asleep. And you want your house, at that time, your house, when you're not up as a part of the active protection, your house is the passive protection. And it should be the same, whether you're there or not. There shouldn't be big differences. So the way that I come at it is the old lights, cameras, action. Okay, the old, when they're shooting a movie, lights, camera, action. That's the way that I go about this. As some of you know, one of my businesses is a landscape and security lighting business. Now, there are a lot of people out there who have security lighting and a lot of people who have landscape lighting, and very seldom are the two melded together, and that's the way that I do it. When I design a lighting plan, I want it to be attractive, and I want it to be effective security-wise. Now, what does that mean? That means that it is glowing. When you drive onto your street or when they drive down your road, your house should glow. Not in a way that it shines through your windows or a neighbor's, but so that it repels the cockroaches. It's just like light. You switch on a light switch and the cockroaches run and hide. Well, you want to first off keep someone from approaching your house. Now, in this, I often have people will say, put on those lights, or should I put on those lights that that kick on when you approach? And I say that's not the first line. Now, you can layer that. That can be a part of your layering with your lighting. But the first thing you want to do is take away all the dark spots. Okay? Bad guys love to have. Now here we're talking about at night. Okay, obviously, God takes care of the light in the daytime, right? Although realize that the vast majority of burglaries, home burglaries, occur during the daytime. We'll get to that. But right now we're talking about nighttime security lighting. You'll see a lot of places also, if they've had a lighting contractor come by there, and most of the time they do it for beauty, to make their house look nice, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like that myself. But they will do wash walls, is what we call it. They will find the flat surfaces and put spotlights or floodlights, depending on the size of the area, on those areas. That looks nice, but what it has a tendency to do is create dark spots in the corners. And depending on what your house looks like, now some houses, if they just have a flat facade, you don't have many dark corners, but you're going to get to the dark corners when it's around to the sides of your house, the corners of your house, and things like that. But on the more intricate, for instance, my house and many of the houses that I do, there are irregularities of the front of the house, the facade of the house. So you'll have doorways extending out and then recesses and things like that. The first thing that I do is I light up the corners, and not just the outside corners. You can't see my hands out there. Not just the outside corners, but I light any inside corner. And, you know, first off, you should not have, and I'll add this right here, you should not have trees right up against your house and your corner. You should have an open area so that any little munchkin running around out there will be in full view in your lighting if he's trying to sneak up, right? And this can also come into a home invasion situation. The lighting itself will keep those people away. Those ones that kick on when you get, you know, motion sensors, right? Well, the problem with that as a primary, there's nothing wrong with the lower down the layer. I'll tell that in a minute. But the problem is you've allowed them to come up close to your house before the light kicks on. Okay, so you've allowed your house to look like a potential target. Then they get up close enough, a light clicks on. Now they're making a decision. Oh, gee, do I leave? Well, they might, but they also might just run for one of the dark spots around your house, you know, behind a tree, behind a bush, in one of the dark corners that haven't been lit up, and wait and see, does anybody come out? And usually nobody will. People rely on these things to like scare people away. Yeah, they'll scare some way. They won't scare the thinking ones, the professionals. They won't. They'll say, okay, another one of those motion sensor lights that nobody pays attention to, right? So you light up your house, you light the corners, you light all around it. And you can do this in some ways by having the brighter lights in the corners and then a somewhat dimmer light against, you know, washing the walls. However you want to do that, contact a lighting contractor for that. No, even if you're in my area, I'm pretty full up. I only do that for special people anymore, and I'm just too busy with other things. So this is advice, not me saying, give me a call, I'll do it, because I can't. I also, you think about areas in your backyard, and I think about a good friend of mine in my house. When I did a lighting job on his house, we started out, he thought he wanted 15 lights. By the time I went around and explained everything and showed him how to really light up his property without it looking garish and without it looking, without it shining in his windows, without it shining in neighbors' windows, things like that. I know the guy, I see you typing out there, my neighbor is 5 miles away. Okay, well, not everybody's is. It takes planning, it takes design, and you don't want to, you know, shine it in the windows. By the time we got done, what did I say? We started out with about 15 lights. By the time we got done, we had 42 lights. Okay, we had them strategically placed around the house so that they illuminated. They looked. It was like you painted the house with light. It was just a beautiful. It looked like a postcard, you know. And then I also put some on peaks shining down and up in trees, you know, washing different areas. I don't want there to be any dark places in that yard. Now, I don't want it to look like, you know, a landing strip. You can do this and make it look, you know, attractive, but find a good lighting contractor and keep those things in mind. And then if you want to put the motion sensitive things on doorways or certain areas, you know, you can. It's really not the security that many people think that it is. You know, you light up your property, you're going to keep out 99% of the people who say, I think maybe I'll go take that house down. And they come up, you know, they might drive your neighborhood during the day and they say, oh, I bet they got good stuff in there. And they come at night and go, whoa, gee, I think I'm in the middle of the daytime. You know what they're going to do? They're going to go to some house that's dark. They're not going to get yours. So that's the lights. Cameras. Cameras are excellent. Okay. I'll actually, and one of the first or second or third chapter of my first book, The Reversion, actually, it talks about when Jim Wyatt gets home after everything goes off. One of the first things he does, he goes around and he installs new cameras. Well, how could he do that, Steve? If it's an EMP, all that stuff is fried, or a CME. Well, read my book, and I explain exactly how he did it and how you should plan for it too. You should keep backup systems, if you can afford it. I know not everybody can, but if you can afford it, you should keep backup systems, a lot, a little, whatever you can, in a Faraday cage box, whatever you would like, bucket, can, so that when everything does go off, you can pull those out and go, okay, now we're back in business. There are when it comes to camera systems, there are hardwired and there are wireless. I suggest the wireless. Now, wireless can be hacked, but unless you are a really important person, far more important than I am, and maybe some of you are, I don't know. Nobody's going to take the time to hack your camera system. Some perv, I guess. There's something called war driving, where people go around and they try to hack into people's camera systems. I don't think that's as big. For a while, it was big, and it was mainly kids and techno nerds just seeing if they could do it. It's not a big problem now. So I like wireless because, like when we're on our trip, I like to be able to look on my phone or look on my laptop and see what's going on around my house. Now, most of the cameras are outside. You want it covering everything. Couple of cameras inside. Not showing living areas, but pointed on the points of entry. And then, wherever you are, you can just get on your phone and go, hey, everything looks good. Look, my dog is happy. Everything. We'll get the dogs. Oh, that was another thing. A good dog. And you all have seen Max. Excellent security. But it can't be, you'll hear these people say, well, my dog is small, but he makes a lot of noise. I don't. Yeah. No, you'd be surprised how few people noise deters. It might let you know that somebody is snooping around your house. Good. I mean, if that's what you want your dog to be, but I'm a believer in having big dogs that can be a part of the defense process. Okay, let's put it that way. Mac would chew up two before I ever got to him. Steve, you can take down a dog. Yes, I know. I've had all the training. Okay. But it's more difficult if there's more than one. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Have two. I just have one right now. He's enough. So the cameras, set them up so that you can, and also have it so that you can check it from anywhere, and also it will record. Okay, have recording on that. So that's the cameras. We've got lights, cameras, and action. Now, what's the action? Well, when I'm gone, there is someone else here. Okay, someone who is maximally effective, trustworthy, and capable. Okay, so it's not an empty house. Just in case there was anybody out there that says, Steve's out of town, let's go get his stuff. That's another thing that people will say, you shouldn't be talking about, you're going out of town, OPSEC. Let's have just a moment of clarity and reality, and that is, it's kind of like, they'll just say, you shouldn't tell people where you live. Well, I've never given them my address, Yeah, could somebody find me? Yeah, but why would they want to? Are there nuts out there? Yes, I've dealt with nuts before. If I see a car pull up in my, pull up to the curb in front of my house and somebody's looking up there, I'm watching them back. Okay, I'm watching. If they get out of the car, by the time they walk up to the house, I'm at the front door, usually with a cup of coffee in my hand, saying, hey, what's up? What do you need? And, it has never happened. It has never happened. I mean, I've had people, see me out in public and come up and say, hey, Steve, I just watch your channel. It's never happened that anybody comes by my house and if they said, hello, Steve, I'm so-and-so, I watch your YouTube or your Patreon channel, and I just wanted to, I thought I'd find out where you lived and come by. And first off, that's pretty odd. That is pretty odd, I've had a number of people send me messages inviting me to stop by and see them on my trip. I wished I had time. There were several I would really love to. I'm not going to have time on this one, but I don't necessarily make it a secret. When we're out traveling, yeah, man. I mean, if you're in the area that we're going through, give me a shout. Email me. We'll meet for dinner someplace at a restaurant. I've had people say, "Hey, we'll cook you dinner. You can stay at our house." I probably won't do that. I'm just kind of, I'm not that trusting of people that I don't know for a long time, and I like my own privacy and my own security setting and all that. But yeah, having you meeting for dinner somewhere, cup of coffee, you bet. But anyway, so if anybody came up to my house, number one, why would they? Number two, if they did, I would be polite as long as they were and say, well, nice to. I'm not going to say come in and see the house and have a cup of coffee. I'll stand there on the front walk and we'll chat for a few minutes, and hopefully it will conclude amicably. And I'll say, well, yeah, good to see you. Hope you continue to watch and enjoy the videos. So I'm not paranoid about that stuff. I'm not overly concerned about that stuff. I mean, I think I maybe have mentioned this before. I'm going to do one on Patreon. I've had professionals after me, and here I am. Okay, so it's not like I'm a dummy. So people, when I'm gone, there are people here, and that's why when we're headed out of town, I'm not worried about people knowing that. My security is going to be as good when I'm not here as when I am here. With the only difference being that I'm not here, and I'm pretty good. If I needed to be a part of the active security, I'm fairly competent. So those are the things my dog's giving me. He's laying over there looking at me. He says, "Are you talking about me?" I was a minute ago. So those are the things to keep in mind, that your security position should always be strong, not just when you're away. And that's why whenever we're on trips, I never worry about the security of my home, because I've taken the steps, and there's people. And I'll tell you another thing also that this kind of comes into play, and it's why at this time I like. It's another reason I like the suburbs. I've got neighbors all around me. And I've got neighbors we know. You hear people say, "Oh, in the cities and the suburbs, you don't know your neighbors." I don't know where you live, but I know all of my neighbors. Well, I know their phone numbers. I'll tell you something funny. Last year, we went up our Northwest trip, up through South Dakota and Wyoming and Montana and Idaho and Washington State and Oregon, back through Colorado. Well, we were up at... where were we? I think we were up in the Black Hills. And Kelly had remembered something. I don't know whether it was, would you bring the trash can? I don't remember what it was. But she texted our next door neighbor and said, "Hey, could you do something?" I forget what it was. I don't know if we were expecting a delivery, whatever. And they came right back to us and said, "Well, we're at, what is the name of that? Mount Rushmore. We're at Mount Rushmore right now." Well, we were going to be at Rushmore the very next day. So we were one day behind. We didn't even know where they were. We hadn't checked with them at first. We're living a very kind of secure. If I explain to you my cul-de-sac, it's extremely secure. Oh, I'll say one more thing about physical in a minute, about enhanced fencing. Everybody knows each other. Everybody watches out for each other. So if anything suspicious went on, I mean, the cops would be here like that. Like that. I mean, they would. We are very well protected. But, you know, this time, I mean, usually before we go, and I don't know why we had forgotten to contact that neighbor, but we had. And, but usually we'll tell everybody, all of the surrounding people, hey, we're out of town. Here are the vehicles that are going to be here. Here are the vehicles that won't be here, who will be in the house while we're gone, everything like that. And it's all cool. I mean, we got eyes all around us, and people that would step up. One more thing about the physical part is fencing. Fencing is important. You know, the fencing when you're out in the country, it's important to keep your cows in, right? When you're in the suburbs, it's important to keep, you know, things in and things out. And, you know, for the most part, I mean, you know, when we first bought this house, it didn't have a fence around it. We had kids walking through our yard late at night coming back from the pool, and that was irritating. So I put up a fence, and since then, you know, no problems. We do have occasional, you know, coyotes running around and things like that, and they tend not to come into my yard. Max will take care of them. But it's not just a fence, and I also say, I do suggest privacy fencing. Now, some will say, I've heard security people say, no, don't have privacy fencing, have open mesh, or, you know, not chain link. That, I mean, if you want chain link, that's all right, but a lot of people want the nicer looking metal, you know. So, you know, people can't hide behind your fence and all. Well, you know, first off, I believe a different way. Have a good stockade fence, a good security fence. It keeps people from seeing in, to be able to scope out your property. And then, and I don't think that I will get into detail on this. I will just say this: enhance your fencing. I'm a big believer in fence enhancement. What does that mean? That means that it is more difficult to approach. It's more difficult to get over, and if you do get out, we're talking about a bad guy, right? If they do get over, they have an immediate problem to deal with, in addition to my dog. Okay, I'll leave that up to your imagination of what that is. You can think it'd be an interesting exercise. Feel free to leave it in the comments if you would like, you know. And if you leave one that's like, I go, wow, that could really bring some liability. Don't be offended if I don't put a thumbs up to it. You know, I'll give it a heart that shows you I read your, you know. But if you put in something that's really, really deadly, you know, no booby traps. No booby traps. Booby traps are illegal. It can get you in prison. But there are other enhancements that you can do. Okay, I think that kind of covers it. Your security should always be in place, and it should always be effective. So any questions you have? Now, if you have questions, hopefully you're with us over on Patreon. If you're not with us on Patreon, you need to be. Okay, we have so much more information over on Patreon. Not only additional stuff that I put up, but we have such an intelligent and active community over there. The community section is great over there. You'll learn a lot. So, and also it allows you, especially the Stone Mountain level. There's 2 levels. Your entry level is $1 a month. Nothing, you know. And that lets you get most of the other information. Not all. There's some that I reserve for the Stone Mountain level. And but you can message me with, you know, questions, or just, you know, just tell me whatever you'd like to tell me. I enjoy reading those. And then that kind of, you know, lets you ask me more questions that I'm going to ask. I can't answer questions on YouTube anymore. I'm just getting too much. And so that's a great way. If you want to ask me questions, the Patreon link is right down below. Come join us. You'll be glad you did. You'll wonder why you never did it before, but you'll be happy that you did. And use the opportunity to ask questions and go on the community. our Saturday morning hot rodder. Actually, that wasn't much of a hot rod. That sounded like he's got some exhaust problems. So make use of the community section. Anyway, I'm going to get back in. We have a kind of a day of preparation here before we hit the road tomorrow. And a lot of things to do. Got to pick all the ripened vegetables and take them down to a neighbor who will make good use of them while we're gone, since I won't be here to pick them and eat them. And a lot of other stuff. Get ready, and we're going to hit the road tomorrow. And that's also going to give me an opportunity to talk about vehicles, about road security, things like that. I'm really looking forward to it. So you all have a good day. I hope you got a little out of this. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And not just to live well tomorrow, but to live well today. Okay? You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.